Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to something different today, Riker. We posed the question to you, and this is our first ever video of You Said It, Not Us. We're not sold on the title on it just yet, so leave a comment down below if you think of a different name. It's a bit more creative, maybe more Raptors oriented, but we posed a question to all of you guys, and we wanted to see your responses because right now there's been some crazy time. It's been a crazy time as a Raptors fan, a tough start to the season. So do you want to break down the prompt we threw out to all the Raptors Digest fans out there, Riker?
Then we threw it out on Instagram. We threw it out on TikTok, getting that going. I don't know the dances yet. The prompt was, let me pull it up exactly. Do you think the Raptors need to make a trade? And if so, for who? So this is fan-suggested trade ideas, and we're going to break down if they're reasonable, if they could happen, Ben, and let's get right into it.
Yeah, I got the intro playing again, but yeah, so we're breaking these down, and obviously there's some other rumors going on too. We tried to stay away from the James Harden because we feel like that's a video to itself, but the first trade we're throwing out there is Pascal Siakam, the guy that everyone is sort of trashing on right now. We can sort of move our heads so that you can see the title, but Pascal Siakam going to the Chicago Bulls, Riker, for Zach Lavine and Lauri Markkanen. I believe there was a lot of Zach Lavine trade proposals given to the Raptors in this comment section, but this was the one we thought was the most realistic. A couple of them had Siakam straight up for Lavine, and we had to give 2 first-round picks. Some had Fred and Bembry for Lavine, so the value we're giving to the Bulls was all over the place in our comment section, but a lot of people wanted Lavine. And what are your thoughts on a move that's similar to this one that we have on the screen?
Well, Zach Lavine is a stud. Don't get me wrong that people's hearts are... To say that people's hearts are in the wrong place. I understand where people are coming from. This guy is in what's kind of, it should be a big market team, but they've just not had any good luck over the past couple of years. So you have a big kind of caliber player, and he's done some things in late game situations. Like, he's a stud all around. But this trade makes no sense for either team, right? This is the Bulls' 2 best players, and they're getting back again. And I made myself a discount version of a Walmart hat.
Oh,
but
my
goodness.
Put that back on. Put that back on.
They're getting the Walmart version of Pascal Siakam, and for their 2 best players, and for the Toronto Raptors trade proposal. I mean, Lauri Markkanen makes great sense because we already have an incredibly weak front court. But to get back, again, if you're making this trade around Zach Lavine to bring back a shooting guard on an already guard-heavy team, it makes no sense. Are you laughing at my hat? This is my,
Bro, I have not seen
discount
this.
Walmart hat.
I did not. We messed up pre-recording this like 3 times. I have not seen this hat. What is this?
I said it. This Raptors team is the Walmart version of the Walmart version of the championship Raptors.
That is tough. And I don't know, to sort of combat your points on the Zach Lavine sort of thing. Yeah. But Zach Lavine, Lauri Markkanen, those are 2 guys on the Chicago Bulls who obviously have been an underperforming team for a really long time right now. And obviously, Pascal Siakam's trade value is the lowest it's been in the past 2 seasons since he's really come into his own as a top-tier player in the league. And I get where you're coming from that it's the Bulls' 2 best players, but it's the 2 best players on the Bulls on a team that hasn't been very good. And Pascal Siakam has been an all-NBA second-team guy last year. Obviously, his value isn't at that level right now, especially with his age and stuff. But, well, with the recent a guy that's all-NBA second team and that age should be really high. But he's been, as you said, the Walmart version of himself, the Walmart version of Andrew Wiggins. So his value is going to be lower, but the Chicago Bulls are sort of in a similar place, and they have really talented guys, but their trade value is pretty low as well, considering they can't get wins. They struggle on the defensive end. Lauri Markkanen had a really promising start to his career and then completely fell off the map last season. Zach Lavine's a guy that sort of has gained a reputation as a high numbers, weak team sort of player, at the same label that people gave Carmelo Anthony in New York, those types of guys. So I think they're both in a situation where their value is probably lower than it really should be. And would I like to see this as a Toronto Raptors fan? I'm still holding out hope that Pascal Siakam can bounce back. And I think for the Toronto Raptors, assuming Siakam gets to sort of half the level he was at last season, I think this is a bad move for our team. But I don't mind the return. Zach Lavine, as you mentioned, is a stud. He gets buckets. Lauri Markkanen, I think, is a very promising prospect, and maybe not being on the Chicago Bulls would really benefit that guy. I know they just got rid of Jim Boylan, but they didn't bring in someone much better in Billy Donovan, but some people are really high on that, so I'll probably get flamed in the comment section. But I'm mixed. I'm mixed on this trade. I wouldn't do it right now if I was Masai, but if things continue to go poorly, then it might be something we could pull the trigger on.
I'd peg this at never happening, Ben. This doesn't make sense. It'd be a lateral move for both teams. It'd probably be a step down for the Bulls, to be honest. I think the Raptors would win this trade, but again, they're not going to trade their best two for a guy who is a fraction of what he was coming off of his most improved player season, that championship season when he was a true number 2 option on a championship team. So I don't see this one happening, Ben.
You don't see it happen. I think it could if both teams are sort of desperate enough. As you said, I think it's lateral, but maybe a change of scenery sort of unlocks these type of guys. And I feel like the Toronto Raptors would have to make another move if we're bringing in Zach Lavine, because Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, all those guys at the 2-guard position, Terrence Davis, Matt Thomas as well, I think you'd have to sort of release that glut that we'd have at that point. But we have our second trade coming up, and Ryker, it's been a while since we've had a sponsor, so we'll just let the tape play and we'll break it down for you guys.
Puts it up, blocked! Jack, how about that? Here comes Pascal. This was the play earlier. Whoa! Right. Saddle in.
Protect the paint, protect your jewels. That is a new segment for when we talk about shot blockers, and that's right, you saw it. The boys got sponsored by Manscaped. If you want to break it down, Ryker, tell them what we're promoting.
And we not only got sponsored, we got partnered. These guys, you've seen their ads everywhere, but they're pretty fantastic, man. They're pretty hilarious. They gel well with what we're all about, being kind of entertainment, but actually delivering. They sent us a full package, man. I got the stuff right here, and it's quality. I don't know if you've received it yet or if you've tried it, but in the spirit of the season, we're in lockdown. You have time to experiment and I don't know, maybe shave the Raptors logo or something into your nether regions. But they're pretty cool, man. We're all set up, 20% off if you use the discount code RAPS, and so we'll link that down into the description, into the comments. But seriously, like, not a joke. This is a quality product, Ben, and you can use it in the shower. So that's my raving review.
Yeah, memes aside, it's actually a really good product. We got it shipped to us. I got it as well. So Newfoundland's been in less of a lockdown, so I haven't been able to be as risky as you have been, Ryker. But definitely a positive thing. Check it out. Link, discount code is in the description. But protect the paint, protect your balls, and the second, or Jules, whatever we titled this, but our second trade involves a rim protector, a shot blocker, and a guy that's sort of an all-around player. And this also brings in another guy that's been tied to the Raptors for the past decade, it seems like. But another Pascal Siakam trade, Ryker. Siakam going to the Warriors for the guy that you said he's a discount version of in Andrew Wiggins, and a rim protector in James Wiseman, who's really shown out for the Golden State Warriors, was the second overall pick this year. What are your thoughts on this move, Ryker?
Yeah, I would love this trade as the Toronto Raptors, to get in a guy who's arguably has more of a ceiling right now than Pascal Siakam in James Wiseman. He's shooting the 3 confidently. It's not at a super high clip yet, but his size, his athleticism is already on full display, and he's coming straight out of college, man. So he has a lot of promise in this league, and I think he'll develop really quickly playing with Steph Curry and under the leadership of Steve Kerr. And Andrew Wiggins, everybody's flaming his 3-point shooting off the start this season, but he has the benefit that he's shooting much better than Kelly Oubre, who's the worst, I think, 3-point shooter now in the league at 4% or 9% on the entire season. I don't see this move making sense for the Warriors unless you included some more guards that can stretch the floor for the Warriors, like Terrence Davis and maybe Matt Thomas, into the mix. So just a straight up 1 for 2, I don't see happening. But if I was the Raptors, I'd probably pull trigger on this deal.
Yeah, and again, it's a weird situation because it's tough to really value Pascal Siakam, and the same points that we brought up in the last trade, it's tough to really measure where he's at. But James Wiseman, bringing back a guy that's a second overall pick, has really performed strong in the start of the season and has shown the ability to shoot it from deep, be mobile. Obviously, he's in a perfect defender right now in terms of positioning and stuff, but has shown a lot of promise on that end of the floor. Could be a really nice pickup for a guy like Pascal Siakam, but you'd want a strong player in return if we're giving up a guy that is a potential All-NBA candidate. Obviously, he's not playing at that level right now, but certainly could in the future and has in the past. So you want a player that can maybe reach that level if you're giving up a Pascal. And Andrew Wiggins, you brought up people are flaming his three-point shooting because it has been bad. Not as bad as Oubre, but definitely not at a level you want from a guy with his contract. Another player with a high contract, low sort of ceiling. We're at a point right now with Andrew Wiggins where he's not getting it done with the Warriors. He's in a good system, a good franchise, and still is struggling. The window's closing on Wiggins being a positive asset. I know people were sort of on both sides of the fence with that D'Angelo Russell trade that the Warriors made last year for the Timberwolves. I know they got an unprotected first with that as well, so that's a huge plus for the Warriors and probably the incentive of doing that trade. But Wiggins, maybe in Canada, he always plays well in Toronto. Maybe he'd be unleashed. Maybe not this year because we're playing in Tampa, but you do this for Wiseman. And if you're really high on Wiseman, you're low on Siakam, this could be an interesting trade.
You're doing it for Wiseman. You're also doing it to take the pressure off of the power forward position to be your number one scoring option. Really, you're bringing in two guys who can score, and you're almost bringing them in as the third and the fourth. So now you can put that scoring emphasis or the scoring load on our guards in Lowry and Fred VanVleet, but you can still get decent scoring. I think it's a little bit appreciated in what Wiggins is still able to do from mid-range and attacking the basket, not as high efficiency as you'd expect, like you said, from a $30 million player, but he can still put up numbers as a third, fourth option. And then to bring James Wiseman in, who's not a number one guy, like not the number one option on a team. He's on a smaller contract. And you know what? Maybe I even take back what I said, Ben, about the Warriors not being interested in a trade like this. I mean, they've come out, they were a dynastic team for 4 or 5 years. They emerge as one of the biggest markets in the NBA. The NBA is putting pressure on them because of Curry to be good because it brings in the ratings. You know, I don't know how long they want to wait around with the team that they have because they're going to have to develop Wiseman. They're going to have to suffer through bad shooting nights from Wiggins and Oubre. Pascal Siakam, he's proven, put him in as the second option on a good team, you can win a championship. So maybe you put him next to Steph Curry and Draymond Green when he comes back, put Draymond at the 5. That's a pretty good mobile unit that can close games, man.
Yeah, and the Warriors are in a similar position to the Raptors as they've struggled to start off this year as well. And as you said, with the high expectations, the closing championship window as Curry ages, even though I think he'll age gracefully being a three-point shooter. I think that team with Curry, Clay, Pascal, obviously Draymond if he has anything left, and maybe an Oubre, some other guys stepping up, that could be a really interesting roster. I think the Warriors would definitely do this deal. I'm not sure how high they are on James Wiseman, especially, even though he's a number 2 pick, it wasn't a super talented, uber-hyped draft. So I think the Warriors do it, and the Raptors, you'd have to be pretty low on Pascal Siakam to get this done. But Ryker, in this Instagram post, in the TikTok comments that we saw, a lot of people were talking about Pascal Siakam, but let's throw out a trade that doesn't involve Spicy P, because I feel like the memes, and we've sort of rode the meme wave of Pascal. I think you and I are still holding out hope he'll be fine, and it's a confidence thing right now. It's not necessarily a talent thing, so hopefully he'll get his mind stay focused, ready to go, and back and play. But another trade for the Raptors that they could potentially do is a deal with the Houston Rockets. And people, you see Raptors, Rockets trade right now, you get hyped and you get amped up for James Harden, but we've talked about Harden enough. This trade involves Norman Powell, Patrick McCaw, and Terrence Davis for Eric Gordon, and I added a random player in here to make the trade work, Kevin Martin Jr. Don't know anything about him, but Ryker, what are your thoughts on this deal, giving up Norm, TD, and McCaw for Eric Gordon?
I don't think that the Rockets would want to do this, Ben.
Really?
Eric Gordon, yeah, I don't think that they would want to do it. And
really?
I watched their most recent Rockets versus Sacramento Kings game, and Eric Gordon, he doesn't shoot an actual tremendous three-point field goal percentage. He's not off to a super hot start, but he's a guy that they said, listen, you've been basically a career starter for the Houston Rockets, but now we have two guards and John Wall and James Harden if he stays, and we don't really have much of a bench. So we want you to come off as the sixth man, lead the bench lineup, and just come out there firing threes, whether you make them at a 40% clip or a 20% clip, and you just get them by shooting as many as you can. That's his role this season, and I don't see bringing in Norman Powell and Terrence Davis being an improvement in that front, especially with how Norman Powell has struggled coming off the bench so far.
Yo, I wouldn't do this as a Toronto Raptors. I'm thinking the other way from you, Ryker, because Eric Gordon obviously is an older player. He's been a part of the Houston Rockets for a while now, and he's sort of been relegated as a three-point chucker for that team. Even though in his Clippers days, when he was healthy in New Orleans, he was slashing, he was doing a lot of different things. But now he's sort of looked at in the league as just a guy that fires up a lot of threes, as you mentioned, not at a crazy high percentage, but can certainly do it on a really good team. But the Toronto Raptors are giving up Norman Powell, who sort of bounced back from his really early season struggles, and obviously is not the guy he's been last season just yet, but a younger player that is on a solid contract, expiring deal, who has been close to a 20-point per game scorer. Last year he was around 17, 18 points per game, so he'd be a really nice pickup for the Houston Rockets. And I know all the off-the-court stuff with Terrence Davis, but he was an all-rookie second-team guy last year. He was a guy that showed a lot of potential, and as you mentioned, whether James Harden's going or staying with the Houston Rockets, Terrence Davis is a young guy that they can transition with into the future and maybe look at to be a prospect if James Harden leaves, or he could be a sort of a win now, a guy that played in the rotation for a top 2 seed last year for the Toronto Raptors. He's a guy that's sort of proven at that level. Patrick McCaw obviously could be a good luck charm for them. He's been too injured to really, I think, expect any team to look at him of any value. But I think those three guys, just for an aging Eric Gordon, who I don't even know is better than Norman Powell, because he's another guy that's looked at to be very inconsistent. I don't know the Rockets do this. I don't really think the Raptors should, but it's interesting that we both sort of went the different ways with this.
Yeah, so if I'm Raphael Stone and that's their Rockets' new GM, I don't know who the president is, Tad Brown or something like that, you're Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri. Both of us are saying we don't want to do this trade, so I don't know who pitched this one out, but I think that this is, funny enough, it's maybe the most likely to happen just in terms of not moving around any key players that are going to really hurt or significantly improve, say, your franchise. It's one that you'd maybe be the least cautious in doing a deal around, but I think it's the farthest from making sense for either party to be involved in them.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. We had some interesting trades in this one. We had a lot of people talk about Marvin Bagley and James Harden as well, but we think those are sort of fit for their own types of videos. But let us know what you guys think of this format. Do you guys like that we sort of took the ideas from people? Should we go forward with this, come up with a better name? Because we think this is a cool topic, get more people engaged with the content. We probably should have remembered the names of people that said that. We'll post those on our next time if we ever do this. But yeah, let us know, give us some feedback in the comment section below. You're the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Check out the website. Check out Ryker doing his TikTok moves. Even though he hasn't gotten on the TikTok yet, he's been afraid to show off those skills on the actual TikTok. But no, definitely follow us over there. It's a lot of fun and lots of cool stuff. You have any last words, Ryker?
And use the discount code RAPS and buy yourself a little shaver.
Yeah, shout out Manscaped.
Shout out Manscaped. Cheers.